give it every week. Me and your she mine. Keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we hit. And they know we ain't quitting. Yo, she might be changing. Keep on bringing and giving. Unity, unity, unity. Cause they know we ain't stopping. And they know they got problems. And they ran out of options. If we know we got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Bang, bang, sign, Afrocentric history, we seen them all. Karma is karma, I say what I say, I hear the war. Till I see y'all fall off, then I bring y'all up on. I back up on my Clyde winners, 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 divine winners, Clyde winners, Clyde winners, Clyde winners. I'm with you, ride with you, master teacher, create back supply winners. Give respect to the elder, Clyde winners. Hi, somebody out there looking for me. Yeah. So there's somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me.
I've not made a story, I've not bragged, I've not cursed, I've not defiled, I've not confounded truth, I've not cursed the God.
Somebody out there looking for me.
Dr. Winters has illustrated that Africans have been settling the New World and building new civilizations and cultures in the Americas and around the world for the past 100,000 years. Dr. Winters has published and written numerous anthropological, linguistics, education, and population genetics articles. Many of these articles have appeared in peer-reviewed journals and online. His work has appeared in the Journal of Black Studies, Afrohistorie, Journal of African Civilization, Adolescence, International Review of Education, Thresholds in Education, TC Record, Bioessays, International Journal of Human Genetics, and PLOS Genetics, to name a few. He has published over 40 books, including Atlantis in Mexico, The Mande in the Ancient Americas, We Are Not Just Africans, and African Empires in Ancient America. For more of Dr. Clyde Winters, check out Yoshimad Gumroad page, and that will lead you to the master himself, Dr. Clyde Winters.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? I gotta tell you this. D from New York City, you got it right. They can no longer hide the real truth. This is a beautiful time. This is one beautiful time in history. How you doing, Zachary Holmes, Joan Coramonte, JP? What up, though? Time, less voice, Souza, JP. What up, though? Listen. This is a beautiful time. Not just because it's springtime, because I love the springtime. Yes, I love the springtime. I love the springtime because the springtime is beautiful. On a beautiful sunny day, we can get what? We get our melanosynthesis. What is melanosynthesis? Melanosynthesis is when you go out and you walk out into the sun and the sun beats down on you And as the sun beats down on you, the sun, the rays of the sun, it stimulates that melanin in your skin. And that melanin in your skin, it gets stimulated. Then it goes to that melanin in your brain. They call your brain, because it's made of black matter, the superior nigra. Yes, they call it superior nigra. I just call it the super nigga. Yes, sirs. Yes, sirs. It is beautiful. Today in Chicago, it's sunshine out there. It is so beautiful. I hate to be in the house, but I had to come in the house, family. Yes, I had to come into the house. I had to come into the house. Jalen Prasad, what up, though? And Nadi, what up, though? I had to come into the house because I wanted to talk to you guys. I wanted to talk to you because, see, this is one of the best days of the week to me. And this is a day when I can share knowledge to you. We had to think about what they said. What she said is so important. What Dee from New York said is so important. She said they can no longer hide the real truth. That's so true. This day and age, we don't have really any black newspapers. We don't have any black magazines. The black magazines, so-called black magazines. It used to be black magazines like Ebony and other publications, but they're no longer black magazines because they're either owned by people who are non-foundational Black American, or they're owned by those other people who run the media. And because they run the media, they made it so that perception is deception. It's what the Black Matrix says. He says perception is deception. And what he means by that is that much of what we see and hear in the media, the news program, the establishment news programs, and the old black media, what we see in a sense, we see deception. We see people trying to give us values, people trying to distort our culture, people trying, in a sense, to inculcate in us a defeatist attitude. They want us to just give up. They want us not to fight any longer. It's very sad. I hate the way I feel. They had that bridge, got knocked down in Baltimore. And I said, wow, that's kind of interesting. But what I thought was very tragic is not the fact that 6 people died on that bridge, and that's sad. And may God bless their families, and may their families, be comforted by the grace and mercy of God. But what I thought about is that here it is, a city, Baltimore. You have a black governor, you have a black mayor of the city, and yet you have immigrants carrying out most of the jobs in the city. This is pathetic. It is pathetic. I have to say it's pathetic because when I was going to college, my father used to be a member of what was called a concrete gang. What they would do, in a sense, is that they would pour the concrete, and then he would use the vibrator. The vibrator was a machine that would spread the concrete evenly, and then then the other people come in and they would make sure that the concrete was straight and then even it off. And so then when I was going to college, my father got me a job as a laborer doing construction, and I made nice money being a laborer. But now you go to many cities, including Chicago, and the majority of people who are working on construction sites are not foundational Black Americans. I mean, really, there's not too many jobs out there. It's pathetic. I was looking at doing some statistics, and I found out that 44% of the people, 17 to 24 in Chicago, 44% is out of work. And I said, mate, yes, people say that young people are lazy. It's not so much that young people are lazy. Many young people, they want to work, but they want to get a decent wage. That's what it's all about. They want a decent wage. They want to work, and they want, in a sense, feel that they're earning money. I think that I read somewhere that the average salary for the average Black person, the average Black worker today, is $22,000 a year. What can you do with $22,000? That's almost at the poverty level. I mean, you can't get married. You can't even take anybody. A lot of people complaining, hey, nobody's taking me on a date. Damn, who's making the money to take you on a date? I mean, hell, in New York City, even McDonald's is expensive. And so then I think I saw another place, and this is probably wrong, but it had that the average white person was making $31,000 a year, and that's terrible. But we become a service economy. Because we've become a service economy, then most of the jobs are not high-paying jobs. Most of the jobs are not jobs in a sense that can help you to produce a family. Okay, my grandson, he has a nice job. He's in the tech industry. But at the same time, I hear him and his friends talk. I'd be listening to listening to the gossip. And and these brothers are talking about the fact they can't afford to get married. They can't afford to get married because they don't feel they have enough money to be able to support a wife and definitely not have children. They say today that you had to make $100,000 a year per child to have to be able, in a sense, to raise a child. Yes, that can happen if it's two of you working, maybe if you're working for a government job like post office, teaching, something like that. But the average person, they'll be lucky to make $60,000 a year. You see, I think about the fact that that my wife, she gave me 6 children, and so that would have meant I would have had to been making $600,000 a year. Whoa, it's not going to happen. You see, and yet we're always talking about kids being lazy. We're always talking about the younger people don't want to work. No, they just want a decent job. They want a job where they can in a sense feel proud of it. And that's important, I worked when I worked my last job as a teacher. I worked at Governor State. I taught at Governor State University for 10 and a half years. I worked as a teacher in Chicago Public Schools at Bennett Elementary. I worked there for 22 years, But see, nowadays, the average job, if you really keep a job, the average job, in a sense, it only lasts about 5 years, And after 5 years, it's a good possibility you're going to leave, or they're going to want to get rid of you because they don't want to pay that. They don't want to pay you a lot of money. You see, I always like to tell people that you may not be making the money now, but the point is this: is that the longer you work on a job, the more in a sense that you're going to make a higher wage on the job. And I also tell that is that the skills, whenever you get a job, you try to learn as many skills associated with that job as you can, because see, as I used to tell my kids, and I tell my grandchildren today, is that often that job isn't going to pay you the money that you're worth. But what happens is that if after you gain this knowledge, after you gain these new skills working on that job, you can take those skills to another job and maybe make more money. You see, you have to understand that there is a tomorrow. Often, you see, I'm not going to tell a lie that anybody can die at any time, but usually, in a sense, there will be a tomorrow. And since there will be a tomorrow, you should prepare for that tomorrow. And the best way to prepare for that tomorrow is what? Is if you can get a job, get that skill. Another thing I'm finding today is that often, in a sense, we want to get mad at the immigrants, and we say, "Wow, those immigrants got a lot of jobs." But many jobs today are off word of mouth. And you'll be surprised. I've heard family members, yes. I've heard family members say that I'm not going to help my brother get a job because my brother's kind of lazy. I'm not going to help my sister get a job because, she's kind of a little contrary, and I don't want to be embarrassed on the job. See, because many of us feel that way, many of us are brother fuckers or sister fuckers. And a brother fucker is a person, in a sense, that instead of wanting to help other brothers progress and other Black people, get jobs and get positions and move up, they do everything they can to hold a brother down, And the thing is, this is that we have to avoid that, you see. But you'll find that in most jobs, especially many of the common jobs, labor jobs, maybe even in the craft industry, plumbers, people like that. A lot of times you get a job off who you know. Therefore, you should try to build up good relations with people. You should try to, in a sense, build up a lot of contacts, and that's a way to get jobs. But the most important thing is that as a man, when you're young, it's all about how many girls that you can talk to, how many numbers you got in your telephone, how many people you can call up, et cetera, et cetera. But see, when you become as you become older, you find that your identity as a man is not associated in a sense with females. Your identity is more associated with your employment. Where are you working at? What job do you have? And we have to deal with this. We have to really deal with this. We have to get our children to understand is that you have to be progressive. I've heard people get on the air and they have these fine videos and they say the problem that black people have is that black people, they don't start businesses. They should all start businesses instead of trying to work for the man. They should start a business. You know, that's absolutely correct in a way. But see, there's only one problem with that. And what is the problem with that? The problem with that is this. The problem is that even though you want to start a business, how do you get the money to start a business? How do you get the money to start a business? Let me know in the chat. How do you get the money to start a business? See? The way you get money to start a business, is you have to have a job first, you see? You have to have a job first, and then you can, in a sense, produce something or start a business. You know, I think it's very sad. I look at all these millionaires. We got a lot more millionaires today than any time in history. And a lot of these millionaires are actors and stuff like that, you know. And then you think back, you think about some of these white actors back in the day and a few today. They take some of their money, and if they want to make a movie, they make their own movies. They put their money together and make their own movies. We're at all these black people, and these black people, instead of them in a sense trying to make their own movies, instead of them trying in a sense to make sure that they can have control over their own businesses, what do? They're waiting for some European to want to make a movie or to make a movie and put them in the movie. That's stupid. See, you know, some of these people have so much fame, so much name recognition, are known for quality work that they can start their own damn movie and they could try to promote their own movie and try to, in a sense, make money, but they don't think like that. You see, what we're always waiting for is that we're always waiting for somebody to bring something to us. You see, but now we had to go back. We had to go back to what Dee from New York said, you know, and I had to repeat it. She said, they can no longer hide the real truth. That's right. They can no longer hide the real truth. And the thing is, this is that I've done research and hey, you know, I'm not like your average brother. I consider myself a scholar. You know, I've written about 50 books. You know, I've published about 200 to 300 articles. Yes, many of them peer reviewed, 200 to 300 articles over the years. And then I've done another 100 to 200 presentations, because I used to do, when I was teaching, I used to do 2 presentations a year, maybe 3. You know, and so then I've been trying, in a sense, to get this knowledge out there, trying to get people see how you had to produce knowledge. And yet at the same time, you know, you'll be surprised, you know, that cost a lot of money. You see, that would have cost a lot of money if I would have been waiting for grants. But I was able to do this research. One, because I tried to learn a lot of foreign languages. I learned, a lot of foreign languages. I was lucky when I grew up. You know, it was a Moorish Science Temple around my house, so I picked up a little Arabic from the brothers at the Moorish Science Temple. They used to have a Moorish Science Temple on Cottage Grove, around 47th and Cottage Grove when I was a kid. And then I took French for 4 years. And so when I went to university, I already had that French thing. Then I just went and got a few tapes to kind of further my knowledge of Arabic and stuff like that. And so what I found, in a sense, is that by knowing these languages, then I would be able to do the research. That's why I'm able to do a lot of the research I do today. Later, I complemented my knowledge of learned Tamil. I learned at least a reading knowledge. You know, back in the day, I learned when I got my master's degree. I got my first master's degree from the University of Illinois. And at the University of Illinois, to get a master's degree, you had to have a reading knowledge in a foreign language, you know. And so then I had saw the books. I got a book on how to get a reading knowledge in German. I can already read and write French real good back in the day. Now I can't, but back in the day, before I got Chinese and Swahili and Arabic and French, and it's all up. It's all up in this not in this in the Super Niagara. And I mean, hell, I might come out speaking anything. But back in the day, since I saw this, I was going to try to learn how to read German, so I could get my master's degree. And then so it used to be books on how to read German, French, all that type of stuff. So what I did over the years is that I used the techniques that those books had to learn how to read Chinese, Tamil, stuff like that back in the day when I was really into it. Now I haven't been really doing any real primary research that necessitates that I go into these foreign languages. And then the second thing I had to do is that because the research, being able to write those articles and books, that would have cost millions of dollars. But because I learned foreign languages, because in fact I lived in an ideal location, and Chicago is an ideal location if you're really interested in studying history, sociology, political science, especially if you're interested in geopolitical events, geopolitics, international relations. And what made it a beautiful place to do this is that in Chicago, we have Northwestern University out in Evanston. And Northwestern University has the best collection in African studies. Yes, they have the best collection in African studies. Then the University of Chicago Library, they have a very wonderful selection of books that deal with Asian studies. And their stacks is super at the University of Chicago. Then the Oriental Institute, which is part of the University of Chicago, it has all the books that you might want that deals with ancient history, ancient civilizations, ancient languages, Sumerian, Egyptian, Akkadian, Assyrian. All these, they had all these books there. So I was all praise the Lord to God, I was just blessed to have those libraries I could go to. But I'll admit it was kind of tedious because the Northwestern and University of Chicago Library are private libraries. And if you're not a student, you couldn't just walk in, So I would get a 7-day permit from the library downtown, the public library downtown. And then I would always say I was looking for this book called the Mandingue Langue. And that was the Mandingo language book by Della Foss. I'd always put that down as the book that I was going to look for because I knew they had it in the University of Chicago Library and they had it at Northwestern University Library. So I would always go and I said I would want to find that book, and then that's how I could get in. And, I would try to make the most of those 7 to 10 days. And I would try to get as much. And I mean, I used to try to go to the copy machine and do a lot of copying, or I did a lot of transcribing, writing stuff, drawing pictures, drawing inscriptions and things like that. And so that allowed me to be able to be the researcher that I am today. But again, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of time. But I feel that my research, I think that when you take into account what 200 over 200 articles published, many of them peer reviewed, and then another 200 presentations at conferences, national and international conferences. How you doing, Dorville and Akio? And then you say, and then 50 books. I mean, that's $1 million in research. And so then that's one of the reasons why I know that it's important. It's important to have a language background. Dorville is a great guy. Joan Coromonte and Dorville, they've done a lot to really help me do the research I was. It was Joan Coromonte who helped me to understand that AIDS was not just culturally acquired immune deficiency syndrome. She made me understand that you have to also add identity. Yes, you have to also add identity. So AIDS is really culturally acquired identity immune deficiency syndrome. Thank you, Joan. And Dorville, he sends me so much stuff, and he's doing so much research, especially on Hebrewism, the Moors, and other things. And so it's very important. It's very important in the sense that these people can help you out. You know, R3D Sigma says, they say, greetings, doctor. Have you done an article or book on the origin of the Greco-Roman people, the Etruscans? Oh yeah, I've done a lot of articles on those. I even got videos on this website that deal with the Etruscans, deal with the Greco-Romans. You know, I have I did a thing. I have a video the other day when I talked about all of the websites. I have 5 websites. Yeah, 5 websites. One, and on a couple of the websites, I have a lot of articles that I've written on the Greco-Romans and stuff like that. How are you doing, Darnell Coleman, Liddy Tillman? And but the thing is, this, as I said, is that research. See, research. You know, like D of New York said, is that you can't hide the truth. And see, that's the beauty. That's the beauty today of social media. You know, social media, yeah, they can stop it at any time and they could take that away from us. But social media allows us the opportunity to communicate. You know, we don't have any black newspapers, we don't have any black magazines, and we really don't have any research. We don't have a black research institution. I know I was listening to Asante, and he was talking about what's happening at Temple University, how they got rid of how they put a coon in to try to destroy the whole department. That was one of the few places where you could get a PhD in Africology. And so then it's just sad that we're constantly battling. We're constantly battling to get the truth out there. And yet, because of social media, if somebody gets killed in Washington, D.C., somebody will put it on social media. They'll expand it to other people. So we get the news around the nation much more faster, you know, even much faster than maybe when in Chicago, when we had the Chicago Defender, you know, or the other black newspapers in Philadelphia and other places. And so then we have to take advantage of these things. And that's one of the reasons why I teach a research course. I teach a research course to try to get people involved and teach people how to do research. You know, there's a lot of people, in a sense, who want to really write about stuff. And what I've been able to do is I teach this research class, and people come into the research class. Many of them, after the research class, they publish books and articles, because see, I teach the research class so I can teach you how to interpret, in a sense, you know, literature, how to interpret linguistic literature, how to interpret, in a sense, anthropological literature. How do you start, in a sense, a thesis? How do you start in a sense to write a book? How do you start to do any type of research? You know, and this is very important, you know. And this is so important, but you got to do the research. You have to try. CG Kid Production, how you doing? Glad to see you this week. And he says, I just did some research on Queen Isabella, first of Spain, and found out that she was black via newspapers. One said she was blonde, and the other said that she had auburn hair. It's a lot of these people were black. A lot of the Europeans remember when Benjamin Franklin, when he wrote his paper in 1751, and he talked about, in fact, German, Spanish, Portuguese. Many of them were black. I mean, just even the kings around that time, you know, that weren't depicted of Portugal, they depict them just as they normally were black. But see, what we don't understand is that CGI Kid Productions, what we don't understand is that many people look at things today and they say, aha, this is how it's always been. No, it hasn't always been that way. You know, many of the people over here, many of the people over here that we've been taught that was white was really black, you see. But does that matter? Because see, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if somebody looks at you and has the same phenotypical features. See, just because they may be phenotypically, quote unquote, a Negro, that doesn't mean, in a sense, that they see themselves as a black person. You see, because see, many of the royals, Many of the world, the Irish, when they came over, the vast majority of Irish were Black Irish. Oliver Cromwell sent 300,000, Black Irish into chattel slavery. These were, in a sense, young adults and young people. And he sent an additional 100,000 children, Black Irish children, phenotypically Black. But although they were phenotypically Black, they're not listed on plantations as Negroes. The only people on the plantation that's listed as a Negro was someone who came from Africa. But that doesn't mean that on that same plantation there weren't Black Irish who were Negro, who had Negro ancestry or African ancestry, or even Black Aboriginals who had Negro or Black ancestry. But it's just that they weren't called in a sense. Black. They weren't called Negro because the Negro was the name for people, was a nationality of people who came from Africa. Irish was the nationality of people who came from Ireland. You see, Yuchi, Cherokee, Yamasee, that was a national name of people who belonged to those various Black Indian tribes, you see. And so then, because of this whole nationality thing, this made it very difficult. This made it very difficult for them to see any type of relationship. That's one of the reasons why I advocate B1. That's one of the greatest things that Professor Black ever invented. And when Professor Black invented the whole idea of being B1, Black first, this was the most important thing in a sense that can allow us to unify. Because see, we unify along this thing. But see, to me, Professor Black, he's just going back to the greatest civilization that ever existed in history. And that was the civilization of Kemet, And the Kemet civilization was the name of the ancient Egyptian civilization. And they called themselves Kametru or Kameyu. And that means, in a sense, they call themselves the Black people. They not only call themselves the Black people. How you doing, D. Foster? They not only call themselves Black people because of the fact, in the sense that they were phenotypically Black. Because remember, they came in all. We come in all colors, all hues. So we're not. They weren't talking about the color of their skin. We come in very, very diverse hues. What they were talking about, in a sense, is that they were the coming true. They were the Black people. That means, in a sense, that they were what? They were the chosen people of God. They were first frequency. And they were first frequency, the chosen people of God, because they recognized that, if you notice, the Egyptians always made their gods Black, you see. So they made their gods Black. They called themselves Black. So that's to show you that when you call yourself Black, you're just, in a sense, following in the tradition of the greatest civilization on earth. And I'll go so far as to say that today, foundational Black Americans are the new Egyptians. And we're the new Egyptians because we're a combination of not only in a sense African people, but also Black Irish, Aboriginal people. And we carry all these traditions. And it's that creativity that have allowed us to make the world a beautiful place. We invented toilet tissue, the street light. We made the light bulb that worked. We made electricity. We made streetcars. We invented the first car. We invented the first cell phone. We invented the first laptop. We're the ones, in a sense, that make it possible for people to navigate the internet. FBA are the new Egyptians, you see, and yet they're able to hide this. Yet they're able, in a sense, to try to keep us in darkness. But see, yes, perception is deception, and perception is deception because the fact is that the European, the Caucasians, they use the media to disguise who and what we are. But hey, it's like what Dee from New York said. And what did she say? She said they can no longer hide the real truth. And the real truth is that this culture, American culture, is FBA culture. And much of the culture of the world today is emulating the culture that we invented. But okay, we're going to get involved in this presentation. The Europeans always said that, everybody evolved in Africa, and that was from Africa that civilization spread. Well, some of that is true, but some of that is a lie too, because see, no Europeans and no Asians were in Africa. The only people that were in Africa were black people like you, black people like me, black people like us. You see, I see a lot of people, you know, and it's so true. And as Joan says, is that it's a new ethnogenic group. No, it's to this whole idea of ethnocentrism. This whole idea of change. Yes, we are a new group, but we're a new group because we've a combination of so many different people. You see, the Caucasian. Over here they talk about 1/5 French, 1/5 Spanish, all that type of stuff, but it doesn't help them. But see, because of the fact, in the sense that we are, listen, we're going to talk about it in a minute. Man originated in Africa. The first anatomically modern Europeans. You'll understand more about that when I get through with this lecture. The main anatomically modern humans, they in a sense evolved in Africa. 2,000, some people even try to say 1,000,000 years ago. And that means in a sense that we have the genetic memory. We have the genetic memory that goes back 200,000 years. But what makes FBA special? I'll tell you what makes FBA special. What makes FBA special is that me, Dr. Clyde Winters, I have a Black Aboriginal heritage, Choctaw. I have, in a sense, a Black Irish heritage. I also have a sub-Saharan African heritage, you see. So that means that not only can I access information that goes back 300,000 years of my African ancestors, but also my European ancestors, also my Black Aboriginal ancestors. And see, this is what allows us, and this is what has made FBA the new Egyptians, because of this ethnogenesis that led to, in a sense, a metagenesis. And when I talk about a metagenesis, that means, in a sense, is that we brought in all of these various genes from all of these various Black people. See, but they were Black people. We've been taught a lie. We've been taught. See, because of the fact, in a sense, that we come in all hues. We've been taught, in a sense, that all our grandmamas and our aunties was raped by white men, and that's why we're light skinned. Oh, that's a lie. We've always been in different hues, and because of that ethnosynthesis that took place over here, that made us who we are. But let's get to the lecture, and let's talk about the origin of mankind. White lies. Yes. It is white lies. White lies that Blacks spread out of Africa. They teach you that Black people spread out of Africa 60,000 years ago, but the research shows that we didn't leave at 60,000 years ago. Black people began to migrate out of Africa, over 130,000 years ago. That book, the boat is a representation. This is the representation of this boat. If you see on the right-hand side, this is based on some of the depictions of boats in the Sahara. Yes. The Green Sahara was a time when Black people traveled on boats to go from place to place. And this is just a representation of those boats. Again, in a sense, go to my Patreon and see the slides. Please join my Patreon. And it's very important because it's my Patreon followers that allow me to do the research. Yes, it costs money to do research. Many of the articles that I use to make these presentations every week, some of those articles are behind a paywall. And that means I have to pay money to get to read those articles. And, if you paid $39, $49, $100, and if an article is behind a paywall, then you may have to spend $200 or $300 a week just to try to read the latest research, because family, I want to bring to you the latest research. And that's what my Patreon allows me to do. Please join my Patreon. Support my Patreon. You're going to find these slides in the Patreon, and I have other stuff in the Patreon, in a sense. In the Patreon, you're going to find all the videos that I make across the internet. You're going to find, in a sense, the slides, and you're going to get other intimate knowledge about my research. So join my Patreon, support me, help me to keep doing this vital research and bringing to you the newest and the latest research every week. Right now, you're on my YouTube channel. On this YouTube channel, I have over 300 videos. Yes, I have over 300 videos, And because I have over 300 videos, this means in a sense that I'm able to share with you these videos. And that's kind of made possible because of my Patreon. So then I want to do this, and it's important in a sense that we understand that by supporting our researchers out there, we can get things done. Yes. Because see, I can only provide the research to you based upon being able to access the knowledge. And a lot of knowledge, the only way I can access this knowledge is by what? Is purchasing it. But you can find a lot of videos on my channel. And these videos on my channel, over 300, as I said earlier, they cover all aspects of Black history. And you can order my books at Amazon.com. And some of my older books, they're out of print. But my books on Chinese Islam and others. But the point is this, is that at least there's about 47 books on Amazon.com that I've written that you can purchase. Let the researcher do the research. Yes, you got to let the researcher do the research. And see, if you want to get good research, you have to have people doing research. Sometimes it makes me feel a little sad, and I feel a little sad sometimes when I see these people. They'll make a video and they'll copy my research all the way through. They'll mention the names of Ivan Van Sertima, and they'll mention the names of some white folks. But these people, they won't mention my name, and yet they put my research out. And it's really sad that you have people in a sense that do this. What we had in me and Sister Shanice, we did in a Black English class, a Black British class, and we're going to do that again. And I hope some of you will join this class and learn more about Blacks in Britain, because the fact in a sense is that it's an important way of studying. We had a nice amount of people in that class. Hi, family. Join us in our new Revealing Hidden Chapters of British Black History 6-week course, Part 2. The instructors are Dr. Clyde Winters and Sister Shanice. Join this important class. Learn more about British history. Learn about how it was Blacks who were the first people to live in Britain. These Black people, in a sense, were there. Join us the 29th of April. Unlike the Hidden Chapters of British African History Part 2, dive into your own investigative Black history course with Sister Shanice and Dr. Clyde Winters. Yes, it's time you join us. You join us and you're going to learn so much about the Black British, the Baradanacs, the people who ruled Britain for thousands of years. You can register at https://sistershanice.gumroad.com/L/HQXUS. This is a 6-week British course. You're going to learn about when Britain was African, the African Bronze Age, the African Anglo-Saxons, the Celts, the Black Vikings. All of this you're going to learn. Join this course. It starts Monday, the 29th of April, and it's going to last until the 3rd of June, 2024. Study fees for this course is £199. Yes, only £199. But if you join before April, it's only £149. Join us. Come and join this class. This class will be from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. London time. In America, that'll be 1:30 p.m. Join us for this new Black British history course. Learn, join us. Register for this class at https://sistershanice.gumroad.com/L/HQXUS. Yes, join us to this important Black history class. This Black history class that will teach you everything you need to know about Black British history. Again, I hope that you'll, those of you who are interested, join the class. Some of my books that are going to be related to what we're talking about tonight is The Ancient Black Civilization of Asia. Some of the material, we're going to discuss various periods of man. You can find essays on this in Black History Gym Essays, Volume 1, and Black History Gem Essays, Volume 2. Get these 2 volumes. They have a great discussion of many of the Black civilizations with the latest news. And then definitely I get my book, The World History of the Black Race. In this book, you're going to find out about every Black civilization on every continent of the planet. If you want to learn more about African languages, how to research them, how to understand them, get my book, Before Egypt, the Ma Confederation, Africa's First Civilization. If you want to learn about where African writing originated, get African Origin World Writing System. Also, I just posted a video a couple of days ago, and I talk about, the origin, where Eden was. Eden was in Africa. I also published a video a couple of days ago, and I talked about, the African origin. I talk about the latest research. The latest research that shows that they believe, this is what the scholars say, this is what the white folks say, and I know y'all like to hear what the white folks say, but what the white folks say is that the first writing systems were created in Africa, yes, and that the first language, the language that people are speaking today, goes back, in a sense, to some language that appeared in Africa. Check out those videos, the one on Eden, and check out the video that deals with the origin of the Tower of Babel, how languages and writing systems appeared first in Africa. Check them out. Then there's my book, Archaeological Decipherment of the Ancient Writing Systems. In this book, I explain how I deciphered the Libico Berber writing, the Olmec writing, the Proto-Sumerian, Minoan writing, you see, and a little bit on the Shang, but I explained to you how I, in a sense, how I was able to decipher these writings and how you can use linguistics to decipher new and unknown writing scripts. Because, see, many people today, they tell you that you can't read Proto-Sumerian, they'll tell you can't read Proto-Elamite, they'll tell you that you can't read, in a sense, Meroitic. But what I show in this book is that, yes, our ancestors left us keys, our ancestors left us information, because we've always been a literate people. See, the European has lied to you. The European tells you that we never wrote, we mainly like to talk, and that we're an oral people. They tell you that you've never written. They tell you that you're oral people because they don't want you to read, in a sense, the records left by our ancestors. See, but they want to have access, and they've got access to all this information. Have you ever noticed? Have you ever noticed that some of the latest medical and astronomical and archaeological evidence comes from the University of Chicago, or it comes from Oxford University over there in London, What do Oxford University? I tell you what, they have strong Egyptological studies departments and Sumerian studies. What they do is that they read our ancient documents. And when they find out some type of scientific discovery or some type of medical event, some type of way to do surgery and stuff, they get that information from the Egyptians. They'll read it off of their parchment, off of their various records that they left us, and then they'll come out and pretend that Europeans made the discovery. They'll pretend in a sense that they were the first to do it when they weren't the first to do this, and they weren't the first to do that. What they did is that they have those archaeological departments that go and explore our documents, the Sumerian documents, the Egyptian documents, and then they take that knowledge and they make it seem as though it's modern. If you want to learn more about how, in a sense, you can learn about how to translate and how to decipher ancient languages, and just how related our various languages are, get my book, African Historical Linguistics. And in this, I show you how Diop created a comparative historical and linguistic methods that can allow you to examine ancient languages. And in my book, Egyptian Language, The Mountains of the Moon, Niger-Congo Speakers, and the Origin of Egypt, this book explains why the various West African languages, Niger-Congo languages and Bantu, which is a Niger-Congo language, why they're related. I explain how Egypt was a Pan-African civilization and why there's this connection. Yes, there's this connection. And the connection is there basically because the fact, in the sense, is that Egypt was a Pan-African civilization and each state had Each nome or sepat, which was a city or state along the Nile, had their own gods. See, but this book will help you to understand the relationship, the linguistic relationships. And I give my book, History and Culture of the Black Race. This book is very important. Get this book in a sense so you can understand our contribution and how important it is to know about the Black Aboriginals.
So dreamy.
Hey, I've just written a new book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals of America. Yes, I've written a new book. This book is called History and Culture of Afro-Americans. It's about the Aboriginal Americans. It's about the first people who inhabited America. Many people don't know about our great culture, this super culture that we created, but I discussed this book. In 489 pages, you'll find out so much information, great information, about, in a sense, what the Aboriginal foundational Black Americans did. You're going to see, in a sense, that Black people contributed much here. When the first Europeans got here, that's what they found. Yes, they found Black Aboriginals inhabiting the Americas. It was the Black Aboriginals that built this country. This is why you had to get my book. Get my book, History and Culture of the Aboriginal Blacks of the Americas. In this book, you will find out the truth. You will know what we created. You will know who we are. Get this book. Buy it now. You can get this book at Amazon.com. I'm very proud of this book because for years I tried to run away from my Aboriginal ancestry. You know, my mom, she told me back in the day, you know, back when I was a youngin', that we were, we had Choctaw ancestry, but I didn't really think about it because the Indians, when looking at cowboy movies, they always lost. But the point is this, is that I understood in the sense is that you got to let the researcher do the research. You got to let the researcher do the research, because when you do the research, when you learn how to do research, you understand that the only way that Black people can progress is by being B1, Black first. You had to be Black first. You had to be B1. And the only way, in a sense, that you can obtain any understanding of the truths that exist in this world, you have to, in a sense, become a researcher. I hope some of you will join my research class so you can learn how to do this research, and you can share whatever it is that you want to share with the people. Because my Afrocentric Research class is a class that's open to anyone who wants to, in a sense, learn the various techniques to be a researcher. Join this class. Hey, it's time for the Afrocentric Research Course led by Dr. Clyde Winters. Join this course. The 15-week Afrocentric Research Course will begin on April 16, 2024. It will last between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can go to clyde98.gumroad.com/L/ to join the class. The Afrocentric Researcher course is vital. In this course, you will learn how to do research. It will help you to write and conduct research. You see, you're going to learn how to do research. You're going to learn how to interpret research literature. And you're going to learn how to write books and articles. Yes, books and articles. And you're going to learn how to use research data to improve your small business. Already, in a sense, many former students have begun to write articles and books that they published. You too can write these articles and books after you take my class. You can make a single payment of $599. You can go to clyde98.gumroad.com/L/ZBWRJR, or you can make monthly payments. Go to clyde98.gumroad. Join me for my 15-week Afrocentric Researcher course. It's going to be the class that's going to help you to really be a success. It's going to start April 16, 2024, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us. Join us in this class. Learn how to do research. It's up to you. Yeah, hopefully some of you guys will want to join, and we can have more people out there, because there's a lot of ideas you got. It's a lot of information you want to share with the family, but you say, how do I do it? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. That's why when you take this research class, you're going to learn the various techniques to do research, to make those ideas that you want to give to the that you want to share with the public, that you want to share with the B1 community, you're going to learn how to, in a sense, package those ideas and how to interpret what you're reading on the internet related to Black people so that there can be further and good understanding. Whites lie about the spread of Blacks. What is FBA? FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor or ancestry or pedigree. I belong to the foundational Black American population. As a result, we are descendants of the African and Aboriginal Blacks who built the United States. Yes, we are. B1 is acknowledging your Black African ancestry, not heritage. We must be race men and women proud of our culture and African Black ancestry. Right, that's right. I'm not saying in a sense that there's not also BBP. And BBP is what? BBP is FBP. FBB. And FBB is Foundational Black Britons. Yes, there's Foundational Black Britons. That's one of the reasons that we're teaching this course is for the FBB community, Foundational Black Britons. Just like I'm an FBA, a Foundational Black American. So we all want to be B1, and that's what it's all about. Is being B1. We've been taught a history of lies, a history where we are the victims of white racism. Yes. They make us feel in the sense that because of white supremacy, that whites control, everything we know about the world. Whites control us. And that whites, in a sense, control our thinking. True. There are some Black people who suffer from CAIDS, culturally acquired immune identity deficiency syndrome. And because they lose their identity, they begin to think in a sense that they're white. Because they lose their immunity to whiteness, they really begin to think that they're just as good as white folks. And then eventually they run into a problem. They become like Jonathan Majors. He felt that he had become just as good as the white folks. And he's going to make this white girl, yes, he's going to make a white girl into a new, king. He was going to make her into a woman like Martin Luther King's wife, and he couldn't do it. And he went into decline because he forgot they wouldn't have racism. They wouldn't have racism if you was just as good as white people. If you were just as good as white people, there would be no need for racism. But they created racism. They created white supremacy because they feel you're better than them. And if they put you on an even playing field with them, they're going to lose. They can't compete with you. That's why they can't compete with you in any sports. Any sports that's out there, Black people usually outperform anybody, any member of that other race. So if Black people can outperform any member of the dominant white supremacist, race, then therefore, in a sense, they're definitely not going to let you challenge them in the academic field or in the mathematical field, the science field. Look, go back to when those three sisters who was working at NASA, when they were trying to send a man to the moon. I think one of those astronauts said he trusted a sister's mathematics, better than a computer in terms of going in outer space. This is just to show you the power of the foundational Black American, the power that we have in terms of the sciences and the knowledge. But we've been taught that we have no agency, and that's a lie. It's a lie. As a rule under white supremacy, history is whatever white people say it is. Your perception of reality is a white deception because the white supremacists control all the mediums. Yes. If you just look at in a sense the white media, if you look at the news every night at 10 o'clock, they're going to show you some Black person, usually a Black man that did some crime. Every day, if there's somebody been killed in the city, it's going to be a Black person killed another Black people. That's all cap. That's all propaganda. Every day, Chicago got millions of people. White people kill white people every day. Latinos kill Latinos every day. But they, in a sense, they put that Black person on the 10 o'clock news so that they can, in a sense, create a reality that is white deception to make you feel that you're a criminal, to make you feel that all you do is bring down your community. It's just a shame. See, but your perception of reality is a white deception because the white supremacists control all the mediums. Even though archaeologists have found ancient artifacts of blacks, the white supremacists demand that you ignore what you can see with your own eyes and replace it with images they make up. This is an evolutionary path from ape to man. Okay, so they believe in the sense that that the ancestor most of both man and man-like apes was Ramapithecus. Okay, Ramapithecus, he led into the Australopithecus robustus and Australopithecus, and other Australopithecus. But then also, but we're supposed to be part of the family that came from Homo habilis. They call the earliest Homo. Homo just means man, and Homo habilis, he's supposed to, in a sense, that comes from the fact that he's supposed to have been a handyman. He began, in a sense, to make tools. Homo erectus, we call that type of human Homo erectus because he began to walk straight up. He began to be erect. That's why we call that Homo species Homo erectus. And then finally we have Homo sapien, and those, in a sense, are the anatomically modern humans, and maybe also sometimes Neanderthal. But they don't usually want to put Neanderthals and anatomically modern humans in the same breath, you see. DNA evidence makes it clear that the first woman was Eve, and that Eve was an African. Here you can see the three faces of Eve: Australopithecus, Africanus, Homo erectus. Those are in the rear, and then finally we see Homo sapiens sapien. And that's the sister in the front. So the Eves all were black women like you. But then also, let's look at the reconstruction. Most of you never see the archaeological research and reconstruction of the ancient Europeans. These are the depictions of the various ancient Europeans, and you can see that there's a difference among these old Europeans. See, most of you have been taught a lie, and one of the reasons that me and Sister Shanice teach our course on Black British history is because of the fact, in the sense, is that you've been conditioned to believe that Europeans came from Europe. No, Europeans did not come from Europe. Europeans originated and came from Central Asia. These are the ancestors. These are the ancestors of the various Europeans, you see. The middle one is Rhodesian man. They give him a different name for Europe. And then the final man on the right, that's called Neanderthal. This is how they look. I know you've been taught a lie, and you've been taught the lie that Neanderthals were really Europeans. But they want to teach you that Neanderthals were really Europeans or light-skinned because of the fact, in a sense, they want to write themselves into history, But there were no Neanderthal man had nothing to do with any whiteness. In Europe, they originated a different type of hominid called Neanderthals. The Neanderthals are not considered to be AMH. AMH stands for A, anatomically, M, modern, and H, human. So AMH means anatomically modern humans. They do not believe, in the sense, that Neanderthal was anatomically modern human. We have been taught a lie. Neanderthals look just like other Africans. Up in that top, left-hand corner, you see this is how they want to teach you that Neanderthal man looked. No, Neanderthal man did not look like that. When Europeans discovered the Neanderthal skeletons, because of the broad Negro features, they declared they were a primitive, ugly people. Over time, they began to depict Neanderthal as pale-skinned Europeans, looking to try and make it appear that contemporary Europeans are native to Europe. This is a lie. Until after 1700 BC, yes, really around 1200 BC, the only Europeans were Negroes. Whites came from Central Asia. Okay, here's a picture look at that picture of Neanderthal. We see Neanderthal. Then we see the West Australoids. Those are the people that you mainly find maybe in India and a place like that. And then you see the Tasmanids. And as you can see is that they're all, there's not that much difference. The only difference between Neanderthal man and other black people was the brow. You see, these are fake and real Neanderthals. The fake Neanderthals, they give them a pale skin. Even research tells you that they say that many people didn't have pale skin until after 5,000 BC, you know. And yet the Neanderthal man, remember, they go back 44 to 100,000 BC. Excuse me. So really, Neanderthals were the dominant people in Europe up until 44,000 BC when the Khoisan people came in. A lot of times they tell you that the Neanderthals were killed. No, they weren't killed off. They were just absorbed. You see, look carefully at these pictures on the right hand side of a Neanderthal man and a Neanderthal woman. You see, what you can tell about this is you have to look at the various skull, the brow. Okay, here we have a Cro-Magnon skull, and on the right hand side we have a Neanderthal skull. I don't know if you can see this pointer. No, you can't see the pointer, but it's this brow right above the eyes. You see that bony feature right above the eyes. This bony feature, it was a little bit less than what maybe Homo erectus and Homo habilis had. But it's this brow that we in a sense consider these people to be, in a sense, non-anatomically modern humans because of this brow. You find that this brow that's strong in the Neanderthal is also strong among many people in Australia. But then when we look at this Cro-Magnon man, which is considered an anatomically modern human, if you look right above the eyes, we don't see that broad brow. We see, in a sense, the brow is much more decreased, is much more subtle. And this subtleness is what allows people to be called anatomically modern humans. And so basically the only difference between the Neanderthal, and contemporary, anatomically modern humans is the brow. It's that area right above the eyes, But see, Neanderthals early left Africa to settle Eurasia. Yes. They went in boats. Yes. When you look at the African continent, when you look at the Green Sahara, you see all these boats. And so these Neanderthals, when they left Africa to settle Europe, they left Africa in boats. Yes, they left in boats. They always want to make you think that people was walking all over the place and that black people walked in. No. The reason that black people are on every continent, and every continent had a black population, is that these black people made boats and they used these boats. This boat that's depicted here, this is modeled off of some of the boats that they found in the ancient Green Sahara. Again, in a sense, we can see the difference between the Neanderthals and anatomically modern humans. Again, we see on the left a Neanderthal person. Look at that brow, and then we see on the right an anatomically modern human that doesn't have that broad brow. You see, there's increasing evidence that anatomically modern humans left Africa 100,000 years ago. Archaeological evidence indicates that anatomically modern humans were in Arabia, China, Crete, and Brazil over 100,000 years ago. It has been shown that anatomically modern humans left Africa before 60,000 years ago. The archaeological evidence from the Americas and Eurasia make it clear that people left Africa over 100,000 years ago to settle other parts of the world. The presence of anatomically modern humans in Crete and Brazil suggests that some of these ancient anatomically modern humans were skilled navigators who used some sort of sailing vessel to reach countries hundreds and or thousands of miles away from the African continent. Yes, they went by boat, you see. Here you can see some of the boats, and these are boats on the right-hand side. These are some of the boats that our ancestors have left in the rock art. Yes, the rock art of the ancient Sahara. It shows so many varied types of boats. There are no known books or records dating back to this archaic period, but there's archaeological and iconographic evidence from Africa that may help us to make inferences about the ancient sailing ability of anatomically modern humans in Africa. And we look at these boats, and these boats, in a sense, show the ability of our ancestors to be creative and make these boats, you say. In prehistoric times, there were megalakes connected by rivers that would have allowed ancient Africans to sail all the way from North Africa to South Africa. Axel Timmerman, a climate scientist at the University of Hawaii, Manoa, claims that climate fluctuations made auspicious environmental conditions that promoted periodic human migrations out of Africa. Every 20,000 years, starting around 100,000 plus years ago. Dr. Timmerman noted that every 20,000 years or so, the Earth's axis wobble caused shifts in climate and vegetation in tropical and subtropical regions, which created green, fertile zones and allowed man to migrate over land into Arabia, the Levant, and beyond. And so here we can look at this solar boats. As you can see, the representation on the left-hand side, again, what we're trying to do, what you see in this picture on the right-hand side, you see how it shows one of the solar boats? It shows, in a sense, how those boats would have been, in a sense, looking in real time. And as you can see, look at that second boat on the left-hand side, and then we see that it's represented as how it would have looked back in the day, sailing on the sea with the sun, using the sky to navigate. According to Timmerman, Anatomy Human made at least 4 migrations out of Africa, 106,000 to 94,000 years ago, 89,000 to 73,000 years ago, 59,000 to 40,000 years ago, and 45,000 to 29,000 years ago. He wrote that, and I quote, "Such shifts then opened up green corridors between Africa and the Eastern Mediterranean, and between Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, thus enabling Homo sapiens to leave northeastern Africa and to embark on their grand journey into Asia, Europe, Australia, and eventually to the Americas. These dates are interesting because they correspond to archaeological evidence for anatomically modern humans in Brazil, Crete, and China 100,000 years ago. The rise of Arignasian culture from Africa to Iberia, and thence Eastern Europe 44,000 years ago, and the spread of Solutrean culture from Africa to Iberia and North America 21 to 17,000 years ago. In addition to the climate shifts creating warm and wet periods in northern Africa that led to lush vegetation, there was also the creation of megalithes across Africa, where hunter-gatherers fished and communicated with their neighbors by boat. Yes, they had beautiful boats. Again, here's a representation of these boats. And see, this is a representation, again, of those we found in the Sahara. And so then this, when you look at this picture, it can allow you to see how these Black people who were living in Africa built these beautiful boats. And these boats, as I've shown you earlier, in terms of the rock art, many of these boats had sails. And the prows are very, very, very high up. And that shows in the sense that these boats could not only travel on lakes, but they could also travel on oceans. The technology of these ancient people 100,000 years ago is just too much to really believe. It's too much to really see. But see, the European, to answer the technological expertise of these Black people, they want to tell you that they got all of their knowledge from some aliens from outer space. No, this was the native intelligence. That's why when they tell you, family, when they tell you that your son or daughter is not good in math, your son and daughter will never be anything. When they tell you your son and daughter does not have the capacity to learn, to be engineers, doctors, all those things, they're telling you a lie. See, we have this knowledge inside of us. It's just that it has to be brought out. Africans developed their nautical expertise as they migrated from southern Africa to North Africa using the Green Sahara. This migration from southern Africa to North Africa is supported by hominids leaving hearts as they moved. Yeah, hearts is like, this is where they built fires, where they cooked and they ate and they left bones there. Around these are hearts. There is considerable archaeological evidence supporting this migration of hominids from the south to the north. This comes in the form of stone tools recovered from hearths along the mega lake basins, dating from the Neolithic back to the Ottoman period. The stone tool inventories indicate that hominids lived in these areas over 100,000 years ago. Yes. And these hominids, again, here we see a representation of one of the boats that they found in the ancient Sahara. What they would do is that often to find out their location, if they was making long distance trips, to often find out the location, traveling in long distances, they would look up at the stars and they would use these stars to navigate. They use these stars to be able, in a sense, to tell them where they were, and also to help guide them to specific places that they wanted to travel to. Because see, I guess in a way they would look up at the stars, and by having this astronomical nautical knowledge, they were able, in a sense, to guide their ships to various sites across Africa. Because I tell you, is that they found so many tools, so many hearths where people were living that date back 100,000 years ago. So we know that they were moving, and they had to be moving around on these lakes. Over 100,000 years ago, anatomically modern humans of sub-Saharan origin had made their way into North Africa. Anatomically modern humans inhabited the African Mediterranean coast between 110,000 and 30,000 years ago. As early as 100,000 years ago, Africans had settled in the Levant. The anatomically modern human Levant settlement lasted between 70,000 years ago to 20,000 years ago. The permanent settlement of anatomically modern humans in the Levant probably ended 70,000 years ago. That was because it was a change in the pattern. But as you can see, this is a reconstruction of how the bone structure and how these people probably look. And so when you compare the earliest North African anatomically modern Africans, you see a relationship. There was sporadic settlement of the Levant between 70,000 years ago and 20,000 years ago due to Neanderthal occupation of the Near East. Trenton W. Holliday tested the hypothesis that if modern Africans had dispersed into the Levant from Africa, tropically adapted hominids, I quote, would be represented in the archaeological history of the Levant, especially in relation to Kafzek Skahul hominids. This researcher found that the Kafzek Skahul hominids 20,000 years to 10,000 years ago, really 40, 50,000, population along with the Natufians, samples, had in a sense African features. Okay, when you look at this reconstruction, here's the reconstruction over here on the left-hand side of how they feel these North African Black people look. And when you look at this reconstruction of the earliest North Africans, you find in a sense that when you compare him to a Miles Davis and Chatham Man, who was supposed to have been in Britain, some say 22,000, now they changed it to 10,000. You can see how these Black people were, in a sense, how these Black people were established all the way from North Africa into Europe and beyond, you see. So that's something to kind of look at. And, sometimes they would try to make the reconstructions a little bit tricky, but most of the reconstructions do show that these people were Black. They would have had darker skin because there was no light-skinned people, according to the archaeologists back then. Here's the African solar boat again. Again, you can see from top to bottom on the left-hand side, you can see the various boats. These are just some of the various boats. Some of them had cabins on side. But look at those high brows. Those high brows, when you look at those, that just shows in a sense that they could travel on oceans because they were so strong. You see, here's the skull of some of the earliest anatomically modern people from from Mount Carmel, Israel. That's the Essequibo Cave where they found these ancient hominids. Alistair Wilkins interviewed scientist Adrian Parker, who observed that we need to go back to where modern humans emerged in East Africa. This occurred approximately 200,000 years ago. The period between 200,000 years ago until 130,000 years ago corresponds to a time when there was a global ice age. During ice ages, global sea levels fell as water became locked up in the vast ice sheets in the northern and southern hemisphere. When ice ages occur, the world's major desert belts also expand, and thus modern humans would have been restricted to East Africa, as the deserts of the Sahara and Arabia pose major geographical barriers and prevented movement out of the region. By 130,000 years ago, glacial climatic conditions changed, and we moved into an interglacial, a period of warmer global temperatures. At this time, the Indian Ocean monsoon system was forced northwards, bringing rainfall into Arabia. The previously arid interior of Arabia would have been transformed into a landscape covered largely in savanna grasses with extensive lakes and river systems. This was also true in Africa. Yes, we did have this period of glaciers, There was no land route connecting Crete and North Africa 130,000 years ago, but we find Acheulean toolkits that indicate marine travel of North Africans onto Crete. These artifacts provide evidence of an ancient sea crossing migration out of Africa 130,000 years ago. Crete is 200 miles, 321.87 kilometers off the Libyan coast. Okay, you can see that top map, and this top map shows you how far away Crete was. Now, as you can see, you couldn't walk to Crete. So then these black people had to have had boats. And here you can see down up under the map, you can see some of the tools that they made. And these tools, in a sense, date back to 130,000 years ago, you see. Although contemporary toolkits have not been found in ancient China, there are 47 teeth from China dating over 100,000 years old. Yes, yes. These are teeth of humans, and they date over 100,000 years ago. And you know what this does? What finding these teeth shows, in a sense, that there was anatomically modern humans that were living in the Daoxiang County in the Hunan province of China. Yes, yes. It was black people even in China 100,000 years ago. See? So when you go and you read these books, and these books say that the Africans left Africa around 60,000 years ago, they're wrong. We can see that people had already expanded out of Africa into Crete and China, over 60,000 years ago. Sea crossing migration of the out of Africa may have been facilitated by African nautical expertise. Perfected on the mega lakes, it is time to take a serious look at the nautical past of African people. The idea that the first civilization in Africa were solely hunter-gatherers without boat technology is groundless. It is necessary to move away from the European idea about the origins of sailing and boat technology. Again, here we can see some more boats. See? I mean, they just had boats aplenty. They had boats with sails. And and this is a representation here. This shows. Here we can see one of the boats, that the boats depicted in the rock art on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side you can see a reconstruction of how that boat would have probably looked in real 3D. Very interesting. What makes this boat interesting is that you can see where the people, the men on the boat or women, whatever, they had in a sense oars to propel the ship. Here's another boat that's depicted on the rock art, and here we can see some brothers, that are out on their boat, and they're trying to spearfish. They're trying to spearfish and trying to, in a sense, get some of the aquatic products, maybe to feed the rest of the people in their community. See, but the most important thing to do is that Africans obtain valuable resources to make their lives better. And here's a boat. This boat on the left-hand side is a boat, in a sense, that is also, in a sense, a 3D representation of how the boats and the rock art would have maybe looked, in real time. And just imagine these beautiful boats. And again, here we see this boat, and this boat is based upon this particular rock art, on the left-hand side. So as you can see, African people who lived in Africa 100,000 years ago, up until the drying up of the Great Lakes, they had massive boats. They had boats that could carry hundreds of people, because see, we don't understand that there are various styles of craft depicted in the Sahara indicate that Africans made vessels that were capable of traveling in rough waters and then the ocean. They would have needed these sailing craft to trade and communicate with people living along the gigantic lakes. Look at this. In this picture, you can see how Lake Chad, Mega Lake Chad, and Mega Lake Congo, they no longer exist. But this is how they believed that it looked years ago. Just look how gigantic these lakes were, and they were connected. You see, here you not only can see Mega Lake Chad and Mega Lake Congo. You can also see those various streams and lakes that also connected it. And in a way, people back in the day, they could move all the way from Southern Africa. Look at this. They can move all the way from Southern Africa up to North Africa. See, some of the lakes that led from Lake Chad into the Mediterranean are depicted. The lakes of Africa were 1,000 miles long. Let me listen to me. Mega Chad was a freshwater lake in Africa covering 139,000. I repeat. See, they don't, they make Africa look little. But Mega Chad, look at Mega Chad over there. Mega Chad was covering over 139,000 square miles, 360,000 square kilometers. Think about that. This lake was almost like an ocean when you think about it. And when you think about it, that here we had, in a sense, Mega Lake Chad, for example, 139,000 square miles, then this can help you to understand. This can help you understand why, Black people had invented so many different boats. See, they had invented all these boats so they could sail along these Great Lakes. You see, the map of Mega Lake Chad and Mega Lake Congo makes it clear that Africans could sail all the way from South Africa to North Africa. From here, they could have sailed to the Mediterranean Sea. These nautical skills were developed by Africans, listen to this, prior to 130,000 years ago. See? When you think about the fact that Mega Lake Chad, for example, is 139,000 square miles, don't you see why traveling from North Africa to Crete wouldn't have been nothing to these African navigators, would it? Because they'd already been traveling along such a gigantic lake that would have been no problem for them to move and travel to different parts of the world, because they had these beautiful boats. And these beautiful boats, in a sense, they could use them to be able to sail not only along these mega lakes, Mega Lake Chad, Mega Lake Congo, and other lakes and rivers that existed in Africa, thousands of years ago, but they could also, in a sense, they could take their boats and they could travel on these boats to other countries, like we know to Crete. They could sail to China, you see. They could sail to the Americas. That's why we know, in a sense, that's why we know that people from Africa had settled Brazil as early as 100,000 years ago. Yes. They had settled Brazil 100,000 years ago. And these boats, a lot of people, they want to say that America's the old world. Much of American history, we don't really know about. A lot of North American history, mainly because of the fact that much of North America, we don't know very much about North American history, because much of North America was under ice until 10,000 BC, you see. But in other parts of South America, Mesoamerica, even the North American South, we have evidence of people, 130,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago in Brazil, and in California, we have evidence of people being there 130,000 years ago. And just think that these Black people who settled these places, they would have come in boats just like these. And we know they would have came in boats just like these because we find these boats throughout the Sahara, where these gigantic lakes like Mega Chad formerly existed. Due to their size, the weather on these inland lakes would have made conditions similar to what sailors would have experienced sailing in the ocean. Moreover, sailing these mega lakes would have given them valuable experience, helping them to sail the open seas. Yes. There is also evidence that Africans made it to California and Brazil 100,000 years ago. The main evidence from the ancient Americas is prehistoric tools and rock art, like those found by Dr. Nieda Guidon. Dr. Guidon in numerous articles claimed that Africans were in Brazil between 65,000 years ago and 100,000 years ago. Guidon also claims that man was at the Brazilian sites 65,000 years ago. She told the New York Times that her dating of human population in Brazil 100,000 years ago was based on the presence of ancient fire and tools of human craftsmanship at habitation sites. And she made it clear that the only place these people could have came from was Africa. Yes. Dr. Guidon said they came from Africa. The discovery of butchered mastodons in California provides additional support for an early migration of Africans out of Africa to the rest of the world. Travel from Africa to the Americas would have been easy, whereas voyages to the Americas was 1,700 miles, 2,035.89 kilometers. This was nothing compared to sailing Mega Lake Chad, which was over 130,000 plus square miles. So look, here's a picture. This can show you that the distance between Brazil and Africa is not that long. But see, again, these maps that they make, because of the fact they want to make Africa smaller than it is, and they want to make Europe larger than it is, and therefore, in a sense, they distort the relationship. But as you can see, the distance between West Africa and Brazil is only 1,700 miles, you see. In conclusion, Africans migrated out of Africa as early as 100,000 years ago, not 60,000 years ago. The presence of humans in California and Crete around 130,000 years ago, and Brazil 100,000 years ago, indicates that Africans were exiting Africa at this time to the Americas, Arabia, and Crete. Also, we talked about China. The archaeological evidence suggests that the first out of Africa events were focused on the West and Mediterranean islands instead of the eastern parts of the world. Yes. They took their boats and they traveled to other parts of the earth. Yes, we had to stop. Europeans lie when they say that the Africans only went out of Africa 60,000 years ago. Here you've seen the evidence that goes back 100,000 years ago or more. You can go to my Patreon to see the slides. You can sometimes, follow me on Twitter at Dr. Clyde Winters 8. You can follow me on TikTok.com at Clyde Winters 3. You can go to TikTok.com and you can view my shorts. I also have some YouTube shorts. Support my YouTube shorts. They're very short. Check them out. Come on and, learn more. View my shorts. Here you're on my YouTube channel. And this YouTube channel, it has over 300 videos dealing with Black history. These are long videos. You got my live broadcast, and you also have my short videos. Check out my videos on this site right now. Take a minute and subscribe. Subscribe and ring that bell so you can be notified every time that I do a presentation. See. So subscribe. Press that like button. Put a like. Come on, give me a like. You can order my books on Amazon.com. Okay, let the researcher do the research. Yes, we have to let the researcher do the research. And people don't understand that anybody can be a researcher. Anybody with at least a fifth grade, if you took a fifth grade language class, you could take my research course. Because see, if you remember your sixth grade, writing, you're able in a sense to join my research class. Hey, it's time for the Afrocentric Research Course led by Dr. Clyde Winters. Join this course. The 15-week Afrocentric Research Course will begin on April 16, 2024. It will last between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can go to clyde98.gumroad.com/L/ to join the class. The Afrocentric Researcher Course is vital. In this course, you will learn how to do research. It will help you to write and conduct research. You see, you're going to learn how to do research. You're going to learn how to interpret research literature. And you're going to learn how to write books and articles. Yes, books and articles. And you're going to learn how to use research data to improve your small business. Already, in a sense, many former students have began to write articles and books that they published. You too can write these articles and books after you take my class. You can make a single payment of $599. You can go to clyde98.gumroad.com slash L slash ZBWRJR, or you can make monthly payments. Go to Clyde98.gumroad. Join me for my 15-week Afrocentric Research Course. It's going to be the class that's going to help you to really be a success. It's going to start April 16, 2024, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us. Join us in this class. Learn how to do research. It's up to you. Also, I hope that you'll buy my latest book, The History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals. Please buy. Hey, I've just written a new book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals of America. Yes, I've written a new book. This book is called History and Culture of Afro-Americans. It's about the Aboriginal Americans. It's about the first people who inhabited America. Many people don't know about our great culture, this super culture that we created, but I discuss this book. In 489 pages, you'll find out so much information, great information, about, in a sense, what the Aboriginal foundational Black Americans did. You're going to see, in a sense, that Black people contributed much here. When the first Europeans got here, that's what they found. Yes, they found Black Aboriginals inhabiting the Americas. It was the Black Aboriginals that built this country. This is why you had to get my book. Get my book, History and Culture of the Aboriginal Blacks of the Americas. In this book, you will find out the truth. You will know what we created. You will know who we are. Get this book. Buy it now. I'm very proud of this book because, see, you got to let the researcher do the research. And that's one of the reasons, in a sense, that I want you guys to join my research class. And because if you join this research class, you got ideas out there. You want to share these ideas with the family. You want to share these ideas with other B1 people. Join my class, and you can learn how to do this. It's very important. Also, I'd like you to, if those of you who live in Britain or want to learn more about foundational, Black Britain's FBB, join this. Hi, family. Join us in our new Revealing Hidden Chapters of British Black History 6-week course, Part 2. The instructors are Dr. Clyde Winters and Sista Shanice. Join this important class. Learn more about British history. Learn about how it was Blacks who were the first people to live in Britain. These Black people, in a sense, were there. Join us the 29th of April. Unlike the hidden chapters of British African History Part 2, dive into your own investigative Black history course with Sista Shanice and Dr. Clyde Winters. Yes, it's time you join us. You join us and you're going to learn so much about the Black British, the Baradanacs, the people who ruled Britain for thousands of years. You can register at https://sistersHanice.gumroad.com/L/L HQXUS. This is a 6-week British course. You're going to learn about when Britain was African, the African Bronze Age, the African Anglo-Saxons, the Celts, the Black Vikings. All of this you're going to learn. Join this course. It starts Monday, the 29th of April, and it's going to last until the 3rd of June, 2024. Study fees for this course is £199. Yes, only £199. But if you join before April, it's only £149. Join us. Come and join this class. This class will be from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. London time. In America, that'll be 1:30 p.m. Join us for this new Black British History course. Learn, join us. Register for this class at https://sistersHanice.gumroad.com/L/HQXUS. Yes, join us to this important Black History class. This Black History class that will teach you everything you need to know about Black British history.
Hey B1 family,
I'm excited to tell you about something super special and educational. This Black History Month, Yoshi Mod has created an amazing collection of PDFs all about incredible Black inventors and their amazing achievements. Do you know about Mae Jemison, the first FBA woman astronaut? Or Percy Julian, who made groundbreaking discoveries in chemistry? These are just a couple of the amazing people you'll learn about in these PDFs. These PDFs are perfect for teachers, homeschooling parents, or anyone who loves learning. They're filled with fun facts and inspiring stories that make learning about Black history exciting. Only $3 for a journey through history with some of the most influential Black inventors and scientists. Just click the link in the description to grab your copies from Yoshi Mod's Gumroad store. And don't forget to check out Yoshi Mod's other amazing creations and music on Spotify. Let's learn, have fun, and celebrate Black history together.
You know, Yoshi Mod is a genius. Yoshi Mod has contributed much. You know, he made the video. He made the video that I began this lecture with, and you should kind of check out Yoshi Mod and let him provide some of the services to make your web page or your business, make it even more prosperous and more successful. Let's look at what Yoshi Mod can offer you.
At Yoshi Mod Productions, we're here to take your brand and creativity to new heights. From EPKs to AI commercials, animated music commercials to animated AI bios, book covers to picture flyers, and so much more, we've got you covered. Our team is dedicated to delivering high-quality, cutting-edge designs that leave a lasting impression. And for our valued clients, we offer exceptional creativity, a customer-centric approach, and work that reflects the latest trends and technologies. Just about making art, we're about creating experiences. Your brand, your vision, our artistry. Professionalism and reliability are the cornerstones of everything we do. We're more than a service, we're your creative partners. If you're ready to make your brand shine, look no further than Yoshi Mod Productions. Join us in the journey of creativity. Contact us today and let's make your vision a reality.
What up, though? What up, though, Team Zulu? Jesse. Oh, Jesse. And also Promiscuous Recommender. You know, Promiscuous Recommender, he asks this question. It's kind of interesting. Promiscuous says, why are there some Black males in America R1B with a German signature? Well, R1B, you have to understand is that there were Black, you know, remember when Benjamin Franklin, when he wrote his 1751 article on the races of the world, he said that many Germans were in a sense, many Germans were Black. But you have to understand that R1 Promiscuous, R1Y haplogroup was carried by the Anzac boy. Yes, the Anzac baby. The Anzac baby dates back to 10,000 BC. 10,000 BC. That means, in a sense, that Black people, foundational Black Americans, have been carrying the R1B Y chromosome since 10,000 BC. And let me tell you something, Promiscuous. Do you know that 25%, I repeat, 25% of Black people in these United States, foundational Black Americans, carry R1B Y haplogroup? So this shows, in the sense, that we've been carrying R1B for over 12,000 years. Yes. It's not just a German person over here, but also Black people, foundational Black Americans generally, would be carrying maybe R1. Again, you know, thank you guys for coming up. How's let me see. Same chick, name Star. What up, same chick, name Star? I love that name. You know, you're a star. What up, though? But anyway, family, did you guys have any questions? Do you have any questions? If you got any questions, you can put them in the chat. Okay, Dorville, he said Africa was called an island continent due to the vast amount of lakes. The interior land was called islands. Yeah, that's kind of true. But also remember, it was also called an island because it's such a gigantic continent. And not only is Africa a gigantic continent, Africa is also surrounded by water on four sides, right? You got the Mediterranean Sea in the north. You got the Atlantic Ocean, you got the Indian Ocean to the east, and then in the south, you've got, in a sense, the rest of the Atlantic Indian Ocean just before South Africa. So then, in a sense, we can see this, Okay, so it's very interesting. Team Zulu said, "What? I have made the mistake of crying that millions of slaves were not brought over on ships. Yet my posting is 7 to 14. It was a lot. It's complicated. They claimed that only 200,000. They claimed that only 200,000 people were transferred from sub-Saharan Africa to North America as enslaved people. But we know that over 400,000. Yes, over 400,000 Black Irish were sold as slaves, and that's not even counting the millions. Yes, I repeat, that's not even counting the millions of Black Aboriginals that were enslaved, as a result of fighting in wars against Europeans. And I think they said at least a million Black Aboriginals were enslaved on farms and plantations in the North and the South. Yes, it was slavery across the United States. In fact, the first Black Aboriginals who were chattel slaves were made chattel slaves in the North, in what we call New England. Then they also made them down to Virginia, Florida, and places like that, you see. But it's kind of complicated. But my research shows that more than 200,000 Black people were enslaved. Okay, here's an interesting comment. Okay, Promiscuous says, me and this guy on TikTok share the migration from out of Caribs. RV88 touchdown there. It seems like it came into North America. I may not be thorough with my question. Can you expand? Okay, RV88. This is what it is. RV88 was the Europeans. They want to say that RV88 was it's another name for RV88 is just RB1. But anyway, they said that RV88 originated in Chad and Cameroon. But then the Europeans got upset because they found out that the oldest Y chromosome one of the oldest Y chromosome for Neolithic people goes back to a skeleton they found in Italy, and this skeleton carried RV88, and he's 7,000 years old. So RV88 was existing in Italy as long ago as 7,000 years ago. Even though originally, in a sense, they said that it was a Y chromosome that was related only to African people, mainly people in Chad and Cameroon. This upset the hell out of white people, because the Caucasians, they was having fun trying to claim, in a sense, that they were trying. Remember, they had changed the look of the Neanderthals, and they started showing Neanderthals as light skinned, even though there was no light skinned people back then. And then, in a sense, then they said, okay, that the original white people carried the Y chromosome R1, and so they were very happy about R1. But then, when they found out that the earliest individual found in Italy, dating to 7,000 years ago, carried V88, that upset the hell out of them. And the reason it upset the hell out of them is because that proved that they were Black too. See, Europeans are always trying to write themselves into history, and that's just it. Team Zulu says that those 14 million was already no Team Zulu. They brought a lot of people from Africa. You got to understand, in a sense, is that you've been conditioned to believe that they had these certain ships, and they made these ships, and they had layers where they had black people all stacked up on one another, and they had these ships. No, that's not the way it was, Team Zulu. Any ship that could sail, they went to Africa and they stole Africans. In fact, I know Dr. Short. We sometimes are talking. Dr. Short, he was a little surprised to find so many. He's surprised to find that some of his ancestors, were involved in the slave trade. Probably some of mine, maybe some of yours, Team Zulu. If you really check your ancestry, you might even find some. See, what it was is that back in the 16, 17, 1800s, people, in a sense, if they wanted to start a business, if they wanted to get a bag, what they would do is that they would get a ship, any ship they could, and they would navigate that ship to Africa, and they would buy some slaves. And so then when they would buy the slaves in Africa, they would bring these slaves. They could buy them over there from a few trinkets, glass beads, and ish like that. And then they could bring those people back over to America, and they could sell them for $1,000 each. $1,000 each. Think about that. So a lot of people were involved in the slave trade so that they could get a bag, so that they could start their businesses. I don't agree with that, and I think that's terrible, because my ancestors and some of your ancestors were chattel slaves on those plantations where we were abused and mistreated. And yet many people felt that if they could get a boat, any boat that would sail, if they could get to Africa and they could buy those slaves, they could get a bag, and then they could start other businesses over here. If this one family, this guy, he brought over 10,000, 10,000 slaves, in over a 6-month period. It only took 30, I think it was around 30 days or something like that to go from Africa to come from Africa back to the Americas. So those ships could keep going back and forward. And it was just so much money. You had to understand, when they talk about on the stock market, today you can buy bonds. The word bonds, in a sense, that goes back to the fact is that many people got their wealth from the people that were in bondage. So bond comes from those people who were enslaved, and they would bundle them up, and then they would sell maybe 4 or 5 of them together. That might be maybe worth 10,000, 2,000 each. We're talking about 10,000. And so again, in a sense, this is this is what it is. This is what it was. D wrote that white people are not that smart, y'all. In a way, maybe they're not. But you have to admit, in a sense, is that they are good with psychology, because D from New York, they're able to dominate many of us. You're wise. See, D, Team Zulu, promiscuous recommender. You guys, in a sense, are wise. That's why you're on this channel. That's why you're here listening to me this Thursday, to get some information on our history. And the reason that you're here is because the fact, in the sense, that you think outside the box. But the vast majority of foundational Black Americans and Black people, period, they believe whatever the white supremacists say, because they don't understand that the media creates a perception that is a deception. In other words, in a sense, the media presents Black people, foundational Black Americans, and other Black people in a negative light, and that can make many Black people afraid, in a sense, afraid in a sense to really in a sense show themselves, or really believe in themselves. How you doing, Brad Murray? Are there any more questions? Yeah, D says you're right, especially here in New York City. Yeah, it's some people that's been brainwashed. You can't help but be brainwashed if you look at their media. See, you had to get outside the box. You had to stop just looking at the media that they present, because the perception is deception. The perception is deception. They present to you pictures and images that distort. I mean, how many of us grew up feeling that everybody in Africa lived in a hut until the internet came out? And when the internet came out, you know, uh, we found our different teams. Zulu, what's your position on human evolution? Uh, Evolution is just a theory, and it's a theory because they can't prove it. They can't prove that evolution existed. They can't prove that man evolved from a cell that was in the ocean, and the cell evolved into a fish, and then the fish evolved into a reptile. Then the reptile evolved into a mammal. See, in research, this is what you'll learn in my research class, but I'll explain to you. In research, there's theories and there's laws. Okay, a law, in a sense, means that something has been confirmed because there's many, in a sense, experiments that prove, well, confirm. I can't say prove, that confirm that this or that happened at a certain time. See, the reason that evolution remains a theory is because of the fact that there's no way to make an experiment to prove that evolution really ever existed. There's not these creatures coming out of the sea that are turning into humans. You see, and because you can't really, in a sense, make an experiment to prove that evolution existed. Evolution is still a theory, but evolution never happened. My belief is that God created man just like He created the birds. There's red birds, blue birds, green birds, all type of birds. Some got big beaks, some got little beaks. The same thing with us. God created. I believe God created in a sense, created all of us. How you doing, Sister Shanice? What up, though? Sister Shanice, hey, family. Sister Shanice is here. You got to join our class. It's coming up June. It's coming up April 29th. Join that Black British class. Okay, D for New York City said, I didn't know there was Black people in Mexico till a few years ago. Shaking my head. Well, you shouldn't shake your head. That's what you would believe. You see, you would believe it wasn't any Black people in Mexico, but when you look at the archaeological data, you know that it was Black people. Yes, it was Black people in Mexico even before the Olmecs. See, the Olmecs, when they came from Africa about 1,200 years ago, and they're the ones that introduced to the various Mexican and Central American people how to build pyramids. But there was also a whole lot of Black people already here in Mexico. And you're right, Sister Janice. Perception, that's deception. Spot on. You're right. You see, because if we look at the news, the news is there. The news is there to deceive us. The news is there to make us see things that don't really exist. They want us, in a sense, to believe a lie. And the reason they want you to believe a lie is because by believing a lie, then they can have greater control over you. Because as I said, no, the European is not superior to you. You're superior to Europeans. Dr. Winters, how do you know that we're superior to Europeans? Well, I'm going to tell you how you know that you're superior to Europeans. You know that you're superior to Europeans because Europeans created, white supremacy. And they created white supremacy, they created white supremacy so that they could maintain their position, their privileged position. Because see, we know that they can't compete with us. See, that's why they know that you're better than them and they can't compete with you. Okay, Ozzy, this is an interesting question. Promiscuous recommender. I seen a video by Mr. Imhotep mentioning that the Ozzy man is not actually how he was depicted. But dark skin, obviously, I'm 1B. I'm R1B, Dr. Winters. Well, Ozzy, you can look at the pictures of him. You can tell that he has dark skin. Because see, when white people die, when Caucasians die, their pale skin turns kind of blackish, Whereas in a sense, if you look at Ozzy, man, you can look at pictures of him, Okay, it's been about 2 hours. I want to thank you guys. For showing up. Thank you for joining us today and sharing with us. But I want you to keep this in mind. I want you to keep this in mind, and you have to protect the brain. And this is what Yoshi wants us to do. Protect your brain. You guys have a good evening. Thank you for showing up.
If you're not going to speak up,